about you. I gotta think about you.
10 country bands. All of them had songs that made you pull over and turn it up. All of them had something real, something that took years to build and no time at all to destroy. And every single one of them made the same mistake. They let go of the voice that made everything worth listening to. Some voted them out. Some watched them walk. Some never understood what they'd done until the silence settled in and stayed. But the result was the same every time. The voice left, and so did the music.
Till the night closes in.
Number 10, Southern Pacific. I want to start this one with a question that sounds absurd until you think about it for a second. How do you lose a country band that's built from a CCR bassist, 2 ex-Doobie Brothers, and 2 of Elvis Presley's original road musicians? That's Southern Pacific, not the railroad. The band, when the Doobie Brothers disbanded in 1982, guitarist John McPhee and drummer Keith Knudsen found themselves between homes. They started doing session work. McPhee was producing a solo album for a singer named Tim Goodman when the two of them decided the real idea was to build something together. They brought in Jerry Sheff and Glenn Harden, both longtime members of Elvis's road band, and walked a demo into Warner Brothers Nashville. The label signed them almost immediately, and they were serious. Warner put them out as New Country Group of the Year when they debuted in 1985. Their first big track was a cover of a Tom Petty song, Thing About You, with Emmylou Harris on guest harmonies. Critics who wanted to dismiss them as rock refugees couldn't argue with the radio response. Then Tim Goodman left after the second album to pursue a solo career. And here's the part that makes this story complicated. Because the replacement, David Jenkins, who had been the lead singer of Pablo Cruz, came in and delivered their biggest hit, New Shade of Blue, included on their third album Zuma in 1988, became their highest-ranking single. The voice that replaced the original voice outdid the original voice. But Jenkins left too, not long after. And when you've burned through your founding vocalist and the one who came after him, you're left with a band of rock veterans whose original groups are suddenly calling. After Southern Pacific's breakup, Knudsen and McPhee returned to the Doobie Brothers. Cook toured as part of a Creedence tribute act. By 1991, it was done. 2 voices in 6 years. Neither stayed. And without a constant voice giving the whole enterprise a sound and a face and a reason, Southern Pacific ended up being a backing track, waiting for someone who never showed up long enough to matter. If you came up on New Shade of Blue on a country station in 1988 and never quite figured out what happened to that band, now you know. They lost the voice twice, and twice was once too many. Number 9, Little Texas. If you were anywhere near country radio between 1991 and 1995, you already know the moment I say that name. 6 guys from Nashville by way of Texas and Oklahoma and Tennessee and Ohio. Long hair, more southern rock energy than Nashville usually let through the door, and a sound that split the difference between Alabama's harmonies and what you'd hear closing out a Friday night in a club that didn't card well. 13 top 40 country singles in 4 years. The band signed to Warner Brothers Records Nashville in 1991 and released its debut album that year. Little Texas charted 13 top 40 hits between then and 1995, including the number 1 My Love in 1994. And that first number 1, My Love, is the first thing I want you to hold on to, because it wasn't sung by Tim Rushlow, the band's primary lead vocalist. It was sung by Brady Seals. Brady Seals is the cousin of Jim Seals of Seals and Crofts, the nephew of Troy Seals. Country music bloodline, that high, smooth tone on My Love was different from Rushlow's rougher, grittier delivery, and the two of them together gave Little Texas a harmonic architecture that most bands would have killed for. Two distinct voices making the same band work from different angles. Seals departed for a solo career in late 1994. Mid-tour, the band absorbed it, found a replacement, kept recording, landed one more top 5 hit, Life Goes On, issued a greatest hits package, and then by 1997, the group had disbanded. By 2004, 4 of Little Texas's founding members reunited, but neither Rushlow nor Seals joined the re-established band. They brought in a new lead singer. He didn't last a year. Then Porter Howell, the guitarist who had never been a frontman, stepped up to the microphone. And he'll tell you himself it's not the same. The band has the songs. They have the name. What they don't have is the voices that made you care in the first place. And if you've ever tried to explain to someone who wasn't there why Little Texas can't just put out new music and get back to what they were, if you've tried to make someone understand what those two specific voices did when they were in the same room, you already know the answer to the question this list is asking. 2 voices, both gone, then nothing left to front.
Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story.
Number 8, Restless Heart. I need you to hold on to the irony here, because it doesn't land until the very end of the story. Restless Heart, Nashville, 1984. Record producer Tim Dubois assembled the band in 1984 to record demos. 5 players with tight harmonies and studio backgrounds who could bridge country and adult contemporary without sounding like they were trying to. And at the center, Larry Stewart, clear tenor, natural phrasing. The kind of voice that made the engineering sound like an accident, like nobody planned it, like the song was just happening. That Rock Won't Roll, I'll Still Be Loving You, The Bluest Eyes in Texas, Tender Lie, 6 number ones across the latter half of the 1980s. The industry called them reliable, the audiences called them home. In December of 1991, vocalist Larry Stewart announced that he was leaving the group to pursue a solo career. We had finished our last concert date of the year, drummer John Dittrich recalled. Larry called a band meeting and announces his resignation. We started hearing a few whispers in the industry, Dittrich later said. Things like, without Larry Stewart, they're dead. Here's what actually happened. The first album they recorded without him, Big Iron Horses, 1992, featured their biggest crossover hit, When She Cries. John Dittrich, the drummer, sang lead on it. The drummer stepped from behind the kit to the microphone and delivered a performance that went top 10 country and top 20 pop. And then they followed it with their first adult contemporary number 1. All of that without the voice Nashville said was irreplaceable. So Nashville was wrong, for a moment. By the end of 1992, keyboardist Dave Ennis had also left the band, and by 1994, the follow-up album came and went without finding an audience, and they went on hiatus for the next decade. The irony doesn't cancel the outcome. Nashville was wrong about the timing. But they weren't wrong about what was coming. A brief flash of defiance, and then the silence that arrives when the instrument that held everything else in tune is missing. Whether leaving was the right call for Larry Stewart personally, I'll let you decide that one. Number 7, the Kentucky Headhunters. I want to start with one specific detail because it tells you more about how this ended than anything else I could say. On June 2nd, 1992, two members of one of the most decorated bands in country music sent their bandmates a fax, informing them they were done. A fax. That's how the Kentucky Headhunters lost their lead vocalist. Let me back up. The Youngs and Martin began performing as the Kentucky Headhunters in 1986, adding brothers Ricky Lee Phelps on lead vocals and Doug Phelps on bass guitar to the membership. These guys had been making music together in basements in Edmonton, Kentucky, in one form or another since the late 1960s, playing Muddy Waters and Bill Monroe and whatever was coming through the radio, building something that blended country and blues and southern rock in a way that made Nashville nervous and country audiences curious.
Y'all help us. Oh, lonesome me.
When Ricky Lee's rough-edged, grit-layered voice landed on top of that foundation, something clicked. They recorded a demo tape, an 8-song recording they sold at shows for $5. The demo tape caught the attention of Mercury Records. And what happened next is one of those cases where you have to tell it in a list, because the list is the story. Grammy Award for Best Country Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal, CMA Album of the Year, CMA Vocal Group of the Year, for a band selling $5 demo tapes out of a trunk. Ricky Lee and Doug departed in June 1992 due to creative differences. Richard Young said, "I tried everything I could to get them to stay." Ricky Lee wanted a more traditional country direction. The rest of the band wanted to stay grounded in the blues rock hybrid that had made the Grammy record. The facts came anyway. Mark Orr stepped in, and the new lead vocalist style was seen as a poor fit by nearly everyone, even the band themselves. The specific combination of edge and warmth that Ricky Lee brought to those recordings wasn't something you could reconstruct with a different set of vocal cords. The newly formed duo Brother Phelps signed to Asylum Records in 1992. Their first single, Let Go, reached a peak of number 6 on the Billboard Hot Country Singles and Tracks charts, higher than any Kentucky Headhunters single had ever peaked. The voice left, and immediately proved it didn't need the room it came from. If you heard Walk Softly on This Heart of Mine on a country station back in 1990 and it stopped you cold, if you remember exactly where you were standing when Ricky Lee's voice came through those speakers, then you know exactly what was lost on June 12 of 1992. Number 6, Exile. This one starts in 1978 because you have to understand where they were to understand how far the fall went. Kiss You All Over, 1978. The song topped the charts and also proved to be their only major pop success. The band behind it, Exile, from Richmond, Kentucky, had been playing clubs and regional circuits since 1963.
Believe it's true. When you land in my arms and you do the thing.
15 years of work for one #1 pop hit, and then the follow-ups didn't come. What they did next shouldn't have worked. They walked into Nashville and said, "We're a country band now." And Nashville looked at the guys who made Kiss You All Over and said, "Prove it." They re-established in 1983 as a country music group.
Night closes in. Till the night.
Between then and the early 1990s, the band had several country chart hits, including #1 songs, Woke Up in Love, I Don't Want to Be a Memory, Give Me One More Chance, Crazy for Your Love, She's a Miracle, Hang On to Your Heart, I Could Get Used to You, It'll Be Me, She's Too Good to Be True, and I Can't Get Close Enough. 10 #1s in 6 years.
I love you. Need you.
J.P. Pennington and Les Taylor trading off lead vocal duties, building a sound that felt earned and specific, and built by people who'd been working at this for 20 years. Here's what I want you to know about J.P. Pennington. His mother, Lily Mae Ledford, was a member of the Coon Creek Girls, the first all-female string band.
and over again.
Country music was literally in the family. He'd been writing it and playing it and building toward it his entire life. Taylor quit the band in 1987, frustrated with the label almost exclusively choosing songs sung by Pennington as singles instead of ones sung by him.
Don't know what to do without.
He felt invisible in his own band, and I'd argue Nashville wasn't being fair to him, though I know some people see that differently. Shortly after Martin's joining, Pennington quit as well, due to exhaustion and the departure of Taylor. He left on New Year's Eve, 1988.
Show me everything you do. 'Cause baby,
At midnight, if you're looking for a metaphor, there it is. A new lineup featuring singer Paul Martin signed with Arista Records and scored some more country hit singles, but they were dropped by Arista after the 1991 album. The group disbanded in 1993.
I need you. Yeah.
And one more thing, 21 former members gathered for a farewell concert. 21 people who had been part of what this band was at some point in its life, all on the same stage, one last time, 10 number ones, 30 years of a band. 2 lead voices gone within 2 years of each other.
I wanna taste your lips, I wanna be your fantasy, yeah.
One left out of frustration. The other quit at midnight on New Year's Eve, and somehow both of those things feel exactly right for a band that had been living on borrowed time since the hit that started it all. Number 5, Black Hawk. This one is unlike every other on this list. I want to say that directly before I tell it. Black Hawk arrived in Nashville in the early 1990s as a trio. Henry Paul had previously co-founded Southern rock legends The Outlaws, as well as leading the popular Henry Paul Band. Van Stevenson had mainstream pop success as an artist in the early 1980s with Modern Day Delilah, and Dave Robbins had written hits for Eric Clapton and Kenny Rogers while partnering with Stevenson to write classic #1 hits for Restless Heart, including The Bluest Eyes in Texas and Big Dreams in a Small Town. 3 vocalist, 3-part harmony that aspired toward Crosby, Stills, and Nash, with a Southern country rock underpinning. And when they put that together in the studio for the first time, the 3 of them found a shared interest in vocal harmony and acoustic instruments that would help form their sound. Something that felt discovered rather than designed. Hitmakers from the start, Black Hawk's debut album went certified double platinum. 7 top 10 hits across the 1990s, Every Once in a While, I'm Not Strong Enough to Say No, Like There Ain't No Yesterday. At the center of that harmony stack, Van Stevenson. A little warmer, a little more inward than Henry Paul's guitar-driven edge, the emotional anchor of the whole thing. At the height of their success in 1999, Van Stevenson was diagnosed with an aggressive form of melanoma. I'm going to stay with that sentence for a moment because it deserves one. 2 days before he passed away, Henry and Dave visited him. Van was in a wheelchair at that point, and they took him for a walk around his neighborhood. Toward the end of the visit, Van said, "I've got 2 things to ask of you guys. First, do what you can to help raise awareness and find a cure for this thing. The other is, don't quit. There's still a lot of great music left in Black Hawk." Since Van's death on April 8, 2001, the band and its fans have raised nearly $250,000 for cancer research in his name. Nobody fired the voice that made Black Hawk worth listening to. That's not what happened here. The universe made that decision, but the result was the same as every other entry on this list. The voice was gone, and the music was never the same without it. If you know Goodbye Says It All, and you've never heard it the same way since learning this story, you're not alone in that. And I think you know why. Henry and Dave kept Black Hawk going because Van asked them to. That's a different kind of reason to stay together. And it's worth acknowledging that. Number 4, Shenandoah Muscle Shoals, Alabama, 1984. The region that produced more recorded music per square mile than almost anywhere else in America. The famed studios, the Muscle Shoals sound, the session players who showed up on records for everyone from Aretha Franklin to the Rolling Stones, and 5 of those musicians, plus a frontman, decided to build something of their own. Marty Raybon grew up in his father's bluegrass band since childhood, called American Bluegrass Express. That upbringing was audible in everything he sang. Country delivered with the directness of someone who learned music as a language before he learned it as a craft. Gritty enough to be real, polished enough for radio. The combination was rare. 5 number ones, 26 singles on the Billboard Hot Country charts, 5 number ones, ACM Award for Vocal Group of the Year in 1991, and a moment I keep coming back to, the church on Cumberland Road was originally pitched to the Judds. Winona Judd told Raybon that it was pitched to the Judds originally, but they passed on it. The Judds passed, and it became one of Shenandoah's biggest songs. You know that feeling when you find out who almost made the song you love? That one still gets me. Raybon's departure came down to burnout. What I really believe it was more than anything else in the world was burnout, he said. The thing you can do nowadays that you couldn't in the 90s, especially in 1997, was take a break. If we'd told the record label we were going to take a year off, they'd have probably told us, if you do, you'll need to look for another label. For years, they would spend 310 days on the road and hardly were ever home. So it started to take a toll on him. That's not a firing, but it's also not nothing. When the machine makes the work unsustainable and doesn't fight to keep the voice that makes the machine run, it's a different kind of letting go. The label didn't fire Marty Raybon. The label just didn't care enough to keep him. Shenandoah split up after his departure. The band reformed with new members in 2000, and for 17 years, there was a version of Shenandoah with different people singing the words that Raybon had made matter in the first place. In August 2014, Marty Raybon rejoined as lead singer of the band. His bandmate Mike McGuire said, and this is the line I always come back to, "It was like putting on an old baseball glove that fit your hand perfectly a long time ago. The shape was still there. The voice had never gone anywhere. The machine just couldn't hold on to it when it had the chance." Number 3, Highway 101. Have you ever been in a room where someone walks out and you realize, only after they're gone, that everything working in that room was working because of them? Highway 101, Los Angeles, 1986. The initial lineup consisted of Paulette Carlson on lead vocals, Jack Daniels on guitar, Curtis Stone on bass guitar, and Scott Cactus Moser on drums. The guitarist's actual legal name was Jack Daniels. I want you to have that detail. Jack Daniels played guitar in a country band. Carlson had been grinding as a solo artist on RCA before this. She made 3 appearances on the Hot Country Songs chart for RCA, but none reached higher than number 65. The solo thing wasn't clicking.
Here's one called One Step Closer.
And then she walked into a room with 3 seasoned session players, and something happened. 4 of their singles went to number 1 on the Hot Country Songs charts. The band won the Academy of Country Music Vocal Group of the Year award in 1988 and 1989, and the Country Music Association equivalent in the same years. Back to back, both awards, both years. And if you heard Somewhere Tonight, or Cry, 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 through a jukebox, or a county fair speaker, or a truck radio, on a summer night in 1988, you know exactly what I mean when I say the voice was the whole thing. Carlson's voice had a quality that made every song sound like a personal matter. Like she knew something about the story that nobody in the room had told her.
Get up, guess I knew I would all the time.
In late 1990, Carlson left the band for a solo career on Capitol Records. Carlson's replacement on lead vocals was Nikki Nelson. Despite some decent-sized hits, the new version of Highway 101 wasn't quite as commercially successful, and the band soon parted ways with Warner. They signed with Liberty for 1993's The New Frontier, but the album flopped. Carlson's most successful solo single, I'll Start With You, peaked at number 21 in 1991. Here's what stays with me about this one. Carlson had been invisible before Highway 101, and she was diminished again after it. The band couldn't replace her, but she couldn't recreate what she'd had without them. Nobody won. The voice moved out of the room where it fit perfectly and spent years looking for another one that felt the same. And the room it left behind tried 3 different singers across the years that followed. 3, each one a little further from the original thing. Some voices belong to a specific combination, a specific moment, a specific group of musicians, a specific window of time that doesn't stay open. And once that window closes, you don't get to just open it again from the outside. Highway 101 found that out the hard way. Number 2, Lone Star. If you want to understand what a voice is actually worth, not in abstract terms, but in pure math, this is the story that makes the case. Lone Star, Nashville, 1992. Britt, Sams, and Rainwater co-founded Lone Star with original lead vocalist Richie McDonald and bass guitarist John Rich. Yes, the same John Rich who later became half of Big and Rich. At the start, Rich and McDonald shared vocal duties and built a sound that was made for radio in the most honest sense. These were records people wanted to hear again immediately. Rich was fired from the band in 1998. That's a separate story. And after that, McDonald became the sole lead voice. And what he built in that role was something that crossed every boundary country music drew for itself. Amazed, 1999. There was a spurt at the end of the last century where they rattled off 5 number ones in a row. Trademark songs like Amazed, What About Now, and I'm Already There. And Amazed didn't just go to number 1 on the country chart. It went everywhere. Multiple weeks at the top of the pop chart. And it went there on the back of Richie McDonald's tenor. Warm, unhurried, the kind of voice that made you feel like the song was addressed to your specific circumstances, your specific life, your specific person. The band has sold more than 10 million album units since their national launch in 1995 and achieved 10 number 1 country hits. In March 2007, Lone Star was dropped from B&A's roster due to declining sales, and McDonald also announced that he would be leaving the group to begin a solo career. The remaining 3 continued with a replacement vocalist. After losing their label, the temptation of a solo career under his own name was too much for McDonald to resist. The split appeared amicable at the beginning, but it didn't take long for the knives to come out. Guitarist Michael Britt said in an interview that the band had painted themselves into a corner, and without the face of the franchise leading things, they were behind before they started. McDonald reunited with Lone Star in 2011 after Collins left. They put out new music, they toured. The reunion proved what everyone already suspected. The original was better than the sum of its parts. And then, in 2021, McDonald left again. Together with former Little Texas lead singer Tim Rushlow and Restless Heart lead singer Larry Stewart, McDonald formed the Frontmen of Country, 3 lead vocalists. 3 different bands on this list, all 3 of them eventually on the same stage, because the original bands couldn't hold on to what they had. Number 1, the Oak Ridge Boys. The Oak Ridge Boys, a vocal group tracing its roots to the gospel circuit as far back as the 1940s, the crossover to mainstream country in the late 1970s. Elvira, in 1981, their first crossover hit, which climbed to #1 on the country chart and #5 on the pop chart. Richard Sturban's impossibly low bass vocals on the blockbuster helped lock the song into the public's consciousness. Bobby Sue, Thank God for Kids, American Made, 14 gold albums by the time this story turns.
Second verse. Tonight I'm gonna meet her.
An Alabama native, William Lee Golden, a baritone, joined the group in 1965, 22 years by 1987. The one with the waist-length beard and the long gray hair who looked like he'd walked in from a different century entirely, and whose voice sat so low in the Oaks' 4-part harmony that when it disappeared, you felt the absence before you could name it. The floor dropped out of the sound, and the sound didn't know what to do with itself.
So I'm singing Elvira.
In March of 1987, the other 3 members voted him out and hired Steve Sanders as his replacement. MCA kicked William Lee Golden out of the band in 1987 and replaced him with Steve Sanders, formerly the rhythm guitarist in their road band, as an attempt to target a younger audience. Golden was replaced by Steve Sanders. He later sued MCA, but the suit was settled out of court. Golden later said that when he tried to sing Ozark Mountain Jubilee in rehearsal after returning, with the line, "If I can't be the favorite son, I'll be the prodigal one," it got kind of hard to choke back the tears. The emotion of that verse, he said, was more true than the day they recorded it. After No Matter How High, a #1 from 1989, the Oak Ridge Boys' long run of chart successes declined. The 14 gold albums, every one of them with William Lee Golden on it, stopped accumulating. The sound that had built a country institution over 2 decades went somewhere it couldn't quite get back to. Sanders replaced William Lee Golden as the group's baritone from 1987 to 1995, and then Sanders resigned. 9 years later, they asked Golden to return. He rejoined the band on New Year's Eve 1995 at a concert in Merrillville, Indiana, and received a 15-minute standing ovation when he walked on stage. 15 minutes before he sang a single note. Joe Bonsall put it plainly, "I look back over my shoulder here and see 14 gold albums. Golden's on all of them. You know what I mean? When this group was pulling together back in those years, we had a lot of magic. The magic was specific. It had a name, it had a beard down to his waist, and when 3 men in a room voted it out to target a younger demographic, they spent 9 years finding out what it cost to make that particular decision. The audience figured it out before the band did, they always do.